भद्रं तन्नआतुवाम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम मा देवा भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्त्रीरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवा पुंसस्तनूभिर्व्यसेमहे देवाहितं जदायुः ॐ हिरण्यगर्भः समावर्तताग्रे भूतस्य जातः पतिरेक आदिता सदा धार पृथिवीं ध्यामुते मां कस्मै देवाय हविषा विधेमाम् ॐ य आत्मदा बलदा यस्य विश्व उपासते यस्य प्रशिषं यस्य देवाः यस्य छायामृतं यस्य मृत्युः कस्मै देवाय हविषा विधेमाम् हरिः ॐ सर्वेभ्यः नमो नमः।
Now I am requesting to play the inauguration clip.
ततादौ कार्यक्रमस्य प्रारंभे मंगलाचरणं
शतवारं प्रणमामस्त्वां वीणाधरे नमामस्त्वां वीणाधरे नमामस्त्वां।
संस्कृत वीक, वर्ल्ड संस्कृत वीक सेलिब्रेशन, संस्कृत विश्व संस्कृत वासरस्य आचरणं अस्माभिः सर्वैरपि कर्तव्यं. Let us all together celebrate this Sanskrit week, World Sanskrit Week. That was the intention, and the initiation was done by our own beloved friend, Dr. Bipin Kumar Jha. Now, I deem it a pleasure in inviting Dr. Bipin Kumar Jha to welcome the guests and gathering, as well to deliver the concept note of this World Sanskrit Week celebration.
नमस्सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च अद्यारभ्य सप्ताहपर्यन्तं प्रचार्यमाने अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे भवतीनां च स्वागतं व्याहरामः। कार्येण शोधस्य सम्यक् रूपेण परिपालनं भवेत् इत्यस्मिन् सन्दर्भे चर्चा विमर्शः अभवत्। अत्र तस्मिन् सन्दर्भे एव एकः नूतनः प्रकल्पः वर्तते खलु, यत् अत्र केन प्रकारेण भाषा संदर्भित विमर्शो भवेत् इति। आहत्य 21 भाषाणाम् अत्र अन्वितिः वर्तते खलु, तत्र प्रामुख्येन 7 वैदेशिकभाषाः सन्ति। अपि च
धन्यवादाः। इदानीं यथा अम्बरीश महाभागाः समागताः, तथा अन्येपि संस्कृतभारत्याः प्रान्तप्रमुखमहाभागाः, अन्ये विद्वांसः समागताः, तान् सर्वान् पुनरेकवारं स्वागतीकृत्य, so therefore now the 47th and 48th edition of this, since 2009 we have been doing it, and now it is the 47th and 48th edition of Janhavi International Sanskrit Blind Peer Reviewed e-Journal, which was very shortly, actually Mantri Mahoday actually release this.
उनको सरलता से उपलब्ध कराना। संस्कृत क्षेत्र में हो रहे इनोवेटिव रिसर्च और आइडियाज को टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से स्थापित किया। वैज्ञानिक वैभव को इंटरनेट के माध्यम से विश्वमान सपटल पर लाने हेतु प्रयास करना।
सभी संस्कृत प्रेमी बंधु भगिनियों को मेरा सादर प्रणाम। आज हमने जानवी पत्रिका के 48वें संस्करण का लोकार्पण किया है। उसके लिए मैं सभी को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। जानवी पत्रिका में देश विदेश के अनेक शोधार्थियों के लेख लिखे जाते हैं और संस्कृत को दुनिया भर में स्थापित करने की दिशा में यह शोध पत्रिका महत्वपूर्ण कार्य कर रही है। और साथ में विश्व संस्कृत सप्ताह पर्व 9 अगस्त से 15 अगस्त तक मनाया जा रहा है। इसकी भी मैं सभी को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। और हिमाचल प्रदेश सरकार ने संस्कृत को बढ़ावा देने के लिए संस्कृत को राज्य की दूसरी राजभाषा घोषित किया है और उसके साथ साथ संस्कृत को बढ़ावा देने के लिए संस्कृत तीसरी कक्षा से प्रारंभ हम कर रहे हैं। और मैं इस जानवी संस्कृत ई जर्नल के लोकार्पण पर एक बार फिर से सभी को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। धन्यवाद।
महर्षि पाणानि संस्कृत वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय संस्कृत भारती जाह्नवीत शोध पत्रिकाणां संयुक्त तत्वावधाने समायोज्यते विश्व प्रतिनिधि भाषासु संस्कृत वैभवम नामे विश्व संस्कृत सप्ताह पर्वाणि आयोजने मुख्य अभ्यागतः श्री गोविंद सिंह ठाकुर, माननीय शिक्षा भाषा कला एवं संस्कृत मंत्री हिमाचल प्रदेश, सारस्वत अतिथि श्री शोभन लाल वकील जी प्रांत अध्यक्ष अवध प्रांत जहां से कि मैं आता हूं, संस्कृत भारती संरक्षक प्रोफेसर श्री विजय कुमार सीजी, माननीय कुलपति महर्षि पाणिनि संस्कृत वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय, समन्वयकः विपिन कुमार झा, संचालकः डॉक्टर सुमन, संयोजिका डॉक्टर सरिता श्रीवास्तव, अन्यान्यपि बंधु बांधव भ्राता भगिनी, शुभ संस्कृत दिवसः अभी कर्तव्यम्। अमृतं संस्कृतं वित्र सरसं सरलं वचः एकता मूलकं राष्ट्रे ज्ञान विज्ञान पोषकम्। जयतु देववाणी संस्कृतं, जयतु भारतवर्षम्।
निर्वहम् किञ्चित् मह्यं मम मातृभाषा वङ्गभाषा अस्ति। अतः पूर्वं यथा वार्ता जाता आसीत्, वङ्गभाषा संस्कृत भाषायाः द्वयोर्मध्ये किं तत्र कीदृशः सम्बन्धः इति विषये किञ्चित् वक्तुम् इच्छामि। सर्वाः भाषा अस्माकं देशस्य ते संस्कृत आधारिताः सन्ति। संस्कृतम् एव तेषां माता, यतः सर्वत्र संस्कृतस्य यत् अस्ति वर्णमाला तदेव अनुसृता भवति।
सच्चिदानंद रूपाय
Shamita.
Now I am inviting Dr. Bipin Kumar Jha to welcome our dignitaries.
Thank you, Shamita. First of all, I wish a very happy and blissful Sanskrit week. It is obvious question that why do we celebrate Sanskrit week? Apart from reading, writing, how does Sanskrit affect human life? In the same way, are they influenced by Sanskrit directly or indirectly? What is the challenges to the Sanskrit language? How to strengthen the country with the knowledge of Sanskrit? In the same way, why should a person know anything about Sanskrit? What is the benefit to him? And in the same way, the last question, what will have to be done to learn Sanskrit to strengthen the nation? So these are the questions behind around us. That's why we are celebrating Sanskrit week. In this event, we are focused on Indian as well as foreign languages. So now the turn is for English language, and the chief guest for this session is Honorable Vice Chancellor, Haryana Central University, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar Ji. He is always trying to motivate learners. For him, I am finding one verse. ज्ञाने मौनम क्षमा शक्तौ त्यागे श्लाघा विपर्ययः गुणा गुणानुबंधित्वात् तस्य सप्रसवा इव. If you know everything, you need to remain silent, keep quiet, because you are knowing everything. If you are powerful, you must have capability to forgive. So it is mentioned in Raghuvamsa, but we are finding the same thing here. The Saraswat Atithi is Professor Sukhveer Singh Ji. He is the former dean of Nalanda University. And regarding Sukhveer sir, I am finding one verse which is from Naisidhiya Charitam. Adhiti bodha charana pracharanai dasaschatasra pranayan nupadhive chaturdasatvam kritavan kutaswayam navedni vidya suchaturdasaswayam. Normally, when we are learning something, there are 4 stages. First, we study, and simultaneously we are trying to understand the concepts. Then we need to live within that concept. Only you are saying that Satyam Vada, and you are not speaking truth, then it will not be accepted by society. So you need to live within that, and after that only you are able to teach someone, preach someone. So I could learn from respected Sukhveer sir that we need to do in the same way. The next guest of this session is Professor Ranveer Singh sir. He is the chair of Swami Dayanand Sodhapith in Central University of Haryana. Next, I find Dr. Praveen Kumar Ansuman ji. He is the faculty from Department of English, University of Delhi. And the last guest, Dr. Brajamohan Misraji, is from IFLU, regional campus of IFLU, from Lucknow. And for all these dignitaries, I can say, Akara sadrisha pragyah, pragyaya sadrishagamah, agamai sadrisarambah, aramba sadrisudayah. So I find all these faculties, normally I am introducing as the guru, because all these guests, they will talk on English language, interrelation between English and Sanskrit, and what will be the development, further development, further research on this area. So I am welcoming all guests, even they are in the same family, but as a tradition, we need to welcome all these dignitaries. That's why I am just deported here for to welcome these dignitaries. And Mahakavi Kalidas says in his text, whenever you are trying to find something from someone, you need to focus on that point only. So he is saying priti pramukha vachanam swagatam vyajahara. So I am welcoming all these dignitaries. Thank you. Over to Samita.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite our chief guest of this ceremony, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar. He is the present Vice Chancellor, Department of Physics, Central University of Haryana, and he was also the Vice Chancellor of his Guru, Jambesar University of Science and Technology. And our next guest, I would like to invite Professor Sukhbir Singh. Professor Sukhbir Singh is an eminent scholar and teacher of English. He was awarded the prestigious Senior Fulbright Visiting Fellowship at the Divinity School of the University of Chicago in 1994 by the United States Educational Foundation in India, 1994. Now I would like to invite Professor Ranveer Singh sir. He is the founder member of Itihas Sankalan Samiti, Haryana, and had been its General Secretary for 3 terms for about 9 years, and also worked then for Seva Bharati, Haryana. He was the local secretary of All India Oriental Conference 44th session, which was inaugurated by Srimati Sonia Gandhi, Chairperson UPA, in auditorium of Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, 27 July 2008. Now I would like to invite Dr. Praveen Kumar Anshuman. He is currently working as an assistant professor, Department of English in Delhi University. And now at last our guest, Dr. Brajamohan Misra. He is currently working as an assistant professor of English, IFLU University of Lucknow campus. Thank you. Now I am requesting Dr. Brajamohan Misra sir to giving his valuable speech.
Thank you, Samita. Although in the schedule it was mentioned that mine would be the second, but thank you anyway. You are giving me the first chance. Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar ji.
Professor Sukhveer Singh ji, Professor Ranveer Singh ji, Dr. Praveen Kumar from University of Delhi, Dr. Vipin Kumar Jha ji, Chief Editor of Janvi English Journal, Janvi Sanskrit Journal, our very own Shovan Lal Vakil Mahoday, present here, Sarita ji, and all the dignitaries from Sanskrit Bharati, from Jahnavi, and from Maharshi Panini Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya. And all the lovers of Sanskrit from all over the world who joined this meeting today. And namaste to all of you. I would like to wish you all a happy Sanskrit Day, a happy Raksha Bandhan. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about the interaction of Sanskrit and English, possibilities and challenges. First of all, I must congratulate the organizer, especially Dr. Vipin Kumar Jha ji, for creating a platform where we can explore the possibilities for Sanskrit students and for English students, where we can think, ponder, discuss, debate on different types of challenges and possibilities that can arise from the interaction of English and foreign languages. Thank you so much. It is really a remarkable thought that people from different departments, different institutions, different disciplines and languages are brought together to interact and to think meaningfully on how we can enrich, how can other languages be enriched from Sanskrit, and how Sanskrit scholars explore the possibilities of employment, research development, relation building, networking with the people of other departments. In the very beginning, let us first make clear what are the particular points that we must consider when we think about the promotion of a particular language. Of course, the first important point is what type of people's attitude is towards that language. Attitude towards the language is built over time. It is not built in a day, and multiple factors are responsible for that. How people see that language. Is that language considered as prestigious? Language of scholars, language of employment, language of social interaction? What is the identity of that language and how culture associated with that language is looked upon? Of course, prestige is not independent of political and social motivations and influences. I must say, political backing plays a very important role in promotion of language. For instance, when there was Muslim empire in India, Persian language, Urdu language got promotion, a lot of promotion. During British period, English became a very powerful language. And unfortunately, I must say that for the last 200, 300 years, English got stepmotherly treatment from the royal offices in India. As a result of that, a great language with a great culture, a storehouse of knowledge, a library language of the world, a language that houses a lot of knowledge, different knowledge systems of ancient India are present in Sanskrit. That language was ignored. It was very unfortunate. It was ignored so much so that in 2001, Polak, a Western philosopher and researcher, claimed that Sanskrit is a dead language. In fact, when we declare a language dead, we want to say that there's no need of investing efforts and resources on making that language alive because that is not useful anymore. But you see, if you consider the data available, you think, you understand that Sanskrit is not a dead language, it is a very much living language. How can a language that is the language of 1 billion Hindus, the scriptural language of 1 billion Hindus, how can that language be a dead language? A language in which great knowledge systems of India are available, which is the archival language of India, how can that language be called dead language? In fact, it is very much living language, and it is classical language, great language that houses, that stores great knowledge systems of the world. We must appreciate that. In the last 2-3 decades, I have seen that Sanskrit is heralding its renaissance. Thanks to the efforts of Sanskrit Bharati and other Sanskrit universities. In fact, the current government is also trying its best, investing some efforts in promoting Indian languages, including Sanskrit. At this point, we must understand what's the status of Sanskrit in India at the moment and where it can be located and how it can be seen in relation to English and what are the possibilities. Then we'll talk about what are the possibilities of research and employment in this area. You see, India is a multilingual country. 22 languages are identified, 22 languages including Sanskrit are identified as scheduled language. They are given in the 8th schedule of the Constitution of India. 99 languages according to 2011 census have been recognized as major non-scheduled languages. In total, 121 major languages are there in India. So, out of these languages, Sanskrit has been identified as the mother tongue of 24,900 people in 2011 census of India. Around 25,000 people identified Sanskrit as their mother tongue. If I consider, you see, in order to just evaluate the position of Sanskrit and what is its status in India, if I can cite the report which was prepared under the chairmanship of Professor N. Gopal Swami, published on 18th November 2015, Vision and Roadmap. According to that report, India has 15 Sanskrit universities, 120 departments of Sanskrit in different universities of India, 5,000 traditional Sanskrit schools, and 1,000 Ved Vidyalayas. When we see this data, we are overjoyed. We feel that Sanskrit is progressing like anything. It has a very strong infrastructure available in our country. Certainly, Sanskrit language is going to flourish. Idanim, I must tell you that I'm not an outsider for Sanskrit scholars who are present here. I am in fact insider. Anglam mama vratti bhasha asti kintu mama hriday mandire Sanskrit eva virajamana. Amup Sanskrit bharatyaha karyakarta. From this perspective, when I analyze the situation, in fact, I am able to see on both the sides of the divide of English and Sanskrit. Now, this data gives a very glimmering picture of Sanskrit in our country. Okay, thank you. I'll keep it concise, although the topic is a bit. At this point, you must understand that the picture is not that bright either. Many universities, departments of Sanskrit, they are not going sufficient number of admissions. What are the causes? The causes are, first thing, when I collected data, I found that in 2017, in CBSE board, around 20,000 students at 12th level opted Sanskrit. You can compare that with English, that over 10 lakh students opted English. Not comparable with in Hindi also, in which there were over 5 lakhs, right? ICSE board even didn't offer Sanskrit as a subject at 12th level. So it is interesting to see that when you do not prepare the students at 12th level, that is pre-board examination, pre-university examination in India, then how can your departments in colleges and universities will be filled? It means there is policy level problem here. Now I come to main, the core thing, that is exploring the possibilities of employment. That was the main thing. It was just the introduction that I gave. In fact, I was allotted 15 minutes, I must tell you, Dr. Vipin. So, you see, Sanskrit has a rich linguistic tradition. For instance, etymology of yask. A lot of work can be done in this area by linguists. Vakyapadiyam of Vartha Hari, right? And Avida, Vyanjana, Lakshana, Vaikari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, all this type of linguistic contemplation that is available in Sanskrit, and there is a possibility of interaction between English and Sanskrit, linguistics and Sanskrit, in exploring these areas in the field of research also. Interestingly, I must tell you at this point that in most of the universities now, Indian aesthetics is a paper. And now a lot of PhD researches are being done in the area like Bhakrokti, like Bharat Muni's Rasa theory, like Auchitya theory, Riti. All these theories are generally discussed in English departments, also in prestigious universities nowadays. So actually there is a lot of interaction is going on between Sanskrit and English. And I must also tell you at this point, earlier there was a time when a Sanskrit scholar, in order to prove his scholarship, used to cite English lines, right? Quoting, speaking a little in English just to create impression. Now the day has changed, time has changed. Now in English departments, I have seen many times people talking and then citing slokas just to create impression. So Sanskrit has claimed its place of respect again, and a new possibility has been created. So I just tried to show in a very brief time that there is a lot of possibility of research, not only in literature departments, but also in linguistics department also, right? For example, Bharat Muni's, for example, Panini, and there are so many grammarians. In fact, there are grammatical traditions, linguistic traditions available in Sanskrit. They are unexplored and they are not available to the world still. However, now there is an age of internet, so people can explore things. So this is very good for Sanskrit also. People want to know these languages as well. I mean, they want to explore these areas. Second warning has come from the organizers, so I must go just to the last part of this lecture. What are the possibilities for Sanskrit scholars? I must not miss this. You see, three things that I could think of. One is there is a possibility of creating a diploma level course in linguistic traditions in Sanskrit, diploma level courses in aesthetic and poetic traditions in Sanskrit, then scriptural grooming and grooming and counseling on the basis of Sanskrit Shastras, right? So interacting with psychology, this type of courses can be designed. Furthermore, when I explored internet, I found that there is IIIT Hyderabad. They offer courses in computational linguistics, and nowadays, even now, they have written also that those people who know English have little understanding of linguistics, know Sanskrit. Sanskrit is given preference. They have mentioned it, right? They then MPhil and PhD level programs there in computational linguistics, pay fellowship also, more than 30,000 in PhD and around 16,000. At Oxford University, now only 2 days back, the vacancy came like departmental lecturer of Sanskrit, although it is a contractual position of 1 year. There is a position in world market, for example, in Canada. I must tell you the name of that university. I have written somewhere. McGill University is running a short-term course of 2 semesters, and they are recruiting people from all over the world. So in Australia, for example, they are offering paid PhD programs. For example, at IIIT Hyderabad, they are offering special fellowship PhD courses. When in those programs, they pay more than 35,000, 30,000 rupees fellowship also. So many possibilities are there. But now the main questions are students competent enough? I mean, how many students are competent? In fact, what I found, all competent students who know Sanskrit, they are not unemployed. Those who have just taken a degree and have no LSRW skill, no linguistic skill, they are struggling. Most of the people who are well versed in their art, they are employed. For example, National Translation Mission is there. They have many opportunities for translating books from other languages to Sanskrit and from Sanskrit to other languages, including Hindi. यही नहीं कि इंग्लिश में ट्रांसलेट करना, हिंदी में भी कर सकते हैं, रीजनल लैंग्वेज में कर सकते हैं, कोई भी टेक्स्ट लेकर. They are paying in lakhs. How many people apply there? Or how many are competent to do that type of translation? So there are many possibilities. Please. Thank you so much. I used even my last minute. Thank you so much, everyone. And I must congratulate Dr. Vipin Kumar once more for organizing this program and for giving me an opportunity of putting forward my ideas here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Now I would like to invite Dr. Praveen Kumar Angsuman, sir, for giving his valuable speech.
नमस्कार टू ऑल ऑफ यू. और विपिन जी, मुझे लगता है 10 मिनट का मौका मुझे जरूर दिया जाएगा.
बिल्कुल
जी. So let's begin. It's matter of great honor to have been invited by Sanskrit Bharati and Janvi Sanskrit e-journal in collaboration with Maharshi Panini Sanskrit and Vedic University Ujjain via this international symposium, which is celebrating the World Sanskrit Week. I express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers of this grand program, who are doing a spiritual service to humanity at large by way of conducting an auspiciously esteemed event like this. और मेरे निवेदन पर प्रोफेसर प्रमोद कुमार जी जुड़े हुए हैं इस मंच से. मैं उनका बहुत ही आभार प्रकट करना चाहता हूं उनके प्रति. और इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मैं शुरू करता हूं कि let me be very frank and clear at the very outset that I am not a scholar or a student of Sanskrit language in general or in particular, nor am I in any way connected with this language officially. Even then, it would not be right to say that I have no connection, no association with Sanskrit language. Let me speak it frankly, that when I hear the worship of Shiva, Jatatavi Gala Jalam Pravaha Pavitastale, Galeva Lambe Lambitam Bhujangatung Malitam, Damat 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 Damanina, the Vadamaravayam Chakara Chanda Tandavam, Tano Tuna Shiva Shivam. Or when I listen to the eternal shlok from Mahopanishad, Ayam Bandhurayam Neti Ganana, Laghu Charet Sam, Udara Charitanam to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Or when I listen to the timeless philosophy having been ascribed within the texture of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santo Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhagam Bhave. Or when I remember the poem from Bhagavad Gita, which I had read in my school time, Tomadi Devaha Purusha Purana, Tomasya Vishwasya Param Nidharam, Vittasi Vidyam Chaparam Chadham Toya Tatam Vishwamananta Rupam. Or the prayer, which we all remember in childhood, Ya Kundendu Tushara Hara Dhabala, Ya Shubhra Vastra Vrata, Ya Vida Vardanda Mandatakara, Ya Shweta Padamashana. And when, and mark this is very important, when I listen to and I get lost into the fusion of Sanskrit language in the most lucrative, lucid and liquid manner by S.S. Rajamouli in his blockbuster movie, Bahubali, the conclusion, and that says like Mahismati Samrajyam Asmakam Ajayam Asurya Chandrakayam Bhadratam Adhiratam Mahismati Yashwatalam Abhimukham Maharaj Vandanam Durbhagyam Durga Nirikshanam Asmada Chaturay Chakravarti Agamanam Gajamadam Vindamra Kumbhyanasham Khadda Shreni Shura Shreni Ayudha Gaurav I'm really exhilarated. And I'm really moved towards the oceanic womb that Sanskrit language has within its text and texture, not because this language belongs to the country I belong. Also, not because of the fact that most of the ancient esoteric scriptures in Bharat are written in this language, but because this language belongs to those people who were continuously engaged in the investigation of the inner self, in the rigorous search of the truth of life, or in the exploration of that which is beyond the boundaries of life and death. I'm motivated towards this language because this language is the mother of all languages. And when I say this language is the mother of all the languages of the world, what I really mean to say that mother is someone who gives birth. A mother is someone that is the creator. A mother is the one that brings the inner into the outer world. Then the question arises, what is then special about Sanskrit language? The specialty of Sanskrit language is that its genesis is not a letter, like all other languages. Sanskrit is not made up of letters. Then the question arises, what it is made up of? It is made up of akshar, and an akshar is not a letter. Akshar means jiska chaya nahi hota, that which is indestructible, that which means which is beyond boundaries, that which is in fact the eternal, that which is never lasting and perpetual. Sanskrit language becomes the mother of all languages just because it is not about words and utterances, but because it is about that which is everlasting. And that everlasting resides in the very concept of akshar. It becomes the mother of all languages also because it brings out the shunya, the zero, into the form. The 20th century Indian mystic Osho Rajneesh, in his book Jyon Ki Tyon Dhar Dene Cha Darya, said, when the zero transforms itself through the human throat, the point where the words take shape is the point where Sanskrit language came into existence, hence Sanskrit being the mother. And so now it is absolutely pointless to say that in the entire universe there is no one that is above mother. Even God is not above mother. Bhagwan Sri Krishna once said that a mother is even above Bhagwan, because even if Bhagwan has to incarnate on earth, he has to come through the womb of a mother. So Sanskrit language is the mother of all languages. It is therefore at the crest, at the pinnacle, it is the culmination. Other important things about this language is that this language works as a bridge, and this is very important, this is all that I'm going to talk about. This language works as a bridge between the zero and the world. The zero is the sound of the eternity. Word is the reflection of the world we live in. Sanskrit thus becomes a vehicle that takes people from the world to the spirit and then back from spirit to the world. And as it does not deal with words, but with akshar, that is sound, it is absolutely clear that this language is phonetic. Very important. This language is phonetic. This language is not linguistic. So all those scholars working in the field of language who would make an attempt to decode anything in this language lexically are bound to miss the very essence of this language is all about. And if the essence of Sanskrit language is lost, be sure that everything is missed out, because then this language ceases to be the bridge between the metaphysical and the mundane. Therefore, what Sanskrit language brings through akshar is the eternal experience, which we call Sanskriti. And when it manifests by way of words is what we call the consecration of sanskar. Let me repeat this, because this is the crux of my talk today. Sanskrit is a bridge between Sanskriti and Sanskar. Sanskrit gives shape to Sanskriti that is invisible in the form of Sanskar that is visible. It means Sanskriti is the invisible Sanskar and Sanskar is the visible Sanskriti. The Sanskar that does not have Sanskriti cannot be thus called as Sanskar at all. And Sanskriti that is not able to install Sanskar is not at all Sanskriti. And Sanskrit language is what translates the two into the tangible and the concrete world. So my final verdict here is that the present research on this language, along with all other languages of the world in the academic field, must focus on these three words: Sanskrit, Sanskriti, and Sanskar. For no other language in the world are able to give shape to the timeless within the time, wordless within the world, and metaphysical within the mundane. If the present day research focuses on Sanskrit language from this angle, I think the paradise once lost will the paradise regain now. With these words, I end up my talk within the stipulated time frame which I was given, that is 10 minutes. I feel honored to share the virtual dice with eminent scholars today and express my heartfelt gratitude. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Next, I will invite Dr. Ranbir Singh, sir, but due to some urgent work, he is unable to join with us. And so next, I would like to invite Dr. Professor Sukhbir Singh, sir, to give his valuable speech.
Well, I'm very happy to be invited to this wonderful program, and I'm happier to say that Sanskrit Bharati is celebrating this event, this Sanskrit week, on the occasion of 75th Independence Day of our country. I would thank the organizers, and particularly Dr. Bipin Jha, who is a very dynamic and very erudite scholar. I had the occasion of working with him at Nalanda University, where I was Dean of Buddhist Studies, Philosophy, and Comparative Religion, the school with 3 components. And he was one of the very important teachers and workers in the school. He helped me in building the school, in raising the school from 9 students to 100 students in 4 years' time. He played a major role in assisting me to catapult that school from a non-school to one of the best schools of Asia. Well, I'm not a Sanskrit person like the earlier 2 speakers. I'm also from English discipline. I have taught English all my life, some very prestigious universities, and but I'm also not totally untouched by Sanskrit language. I studied Sanskrit up to matriculation and then forgot about it. But when I became the dean of the School of Buddhist Studies at Nalanda University, I was asked to teach history and philosophy of yoga. Then I went back to my school and tried to capture those moments when I had learned Sanskrit grammar, Sanskrit text, and had training in speaking Sanskrit and so on. The language was in my subconscious and it came on. So I have my own impression about Sanskrit language, though it's a very rich language. It's a very mellifluous language, very lyrical language, and it touches the deeper chords of anyone's psyche and fills him or her with divine feelings. Known to be language of devas. And all our scriptures, as you know, are written in Sanskrit language. And not only that, Sanskrit was the spoken language of Varsha in the ancient past. Well, we call Sanskrit as the mother, seed, and source of all languages. My dear earlier speakers made some such announcements. How it became the mother? We have to go into the history of this language. This language did not originate in India. I'm very sorry to say that today we can boast of Sanskrit as Indian language and so on and so forth. Of course, it's the Indian language now, but going back into its origin, it did not originate in India. It originated in Central Asia, where Aryans, the Sanskrit-speaking Aryans, originally stayed. I mean, on the western side of Caspian Sea, and there they devised this language, and they wrote their gatha in this language. And from Central Asia, due to certain geographical reasons, certain other reasons, they proliferated, they migrated to various parts of Europe, including our Indus Valley and so on. They went out for trade purposes because Aryans were partly traders also. And there they carried their religion and their language. Two things they carried with them. And both these things, they got assimilated to the indigenous native languages and religions. So you will find Sanskrit resonances in all the languages in Europe, and more so in German language, French and Turkish and Egyptian, Greek, and so on and so forth, wherever Aryans went and settled down. So this is how this language is the mother of all languages, and it manifests its presence openly or secretly in all the languages. And if this aspect of Sanskrit language, the global, the international aspect of Sanskrit language is explored, I'm sure this language will get more of buoyancy and would become more research worthy for the researcher. Now, I was invited by Harvard University for a program at Bilgi University in Istanbul, and I would travel from the hotel to Bilgi University every day, to and fro, and I would look around to the boards on the shops. And you believe me, I noted some 6 to 8 Sanskrit words during my journey, my to and fro journey from hotel to the university and back. Like one of them was Nilayam, and another was Deva, and there were several others. I could note down only 6 to 8. Now, this is how Sanskrit language manifests its presence in other European languages and also in Asian languages too. So now I met one person in Chicago University where I was senior Fulbright. He asked me, how come your language, your Sanskrit language, comes very close to our language? He was from Eastern Europe. I said, your language and Sanskrit, they have common roots in Central Asia. And he said, he admitted, I must go into the history of Sanskrit language and into the history of our language. I said, they would certainly meet somewhere and you would be surprised. Now, why Sanskrit disappeared? What happened to Sanskrit? Here we can compare Sanskrit with English, a very meaningful comparison. Sanskrit scholars have always, Sanskrit, our saints and sages and our scholars have always laid greater emphasis on its purity, on its chastity, on its grammatical correctness. No doubt, Sanskrit grammar is the most perfect grammar in the world. It's an admitted fact. And our scholars, saints and sages have tried their utmost to maintain the chastity and purity of this language. In the process, the language became rigid because correctness is welcome, but correctness at certain expense sometimes becomes harmful. That's what I think. On the other side, you take English, flexible. Grammar is not perfect. Grammar is flexible. Every year, several words are added to English language. Every year, several changes are made in the grammatical rules by this scholar, by that scholar, and so on and so forth. and it absorbs other languages on yearly basis, words from other languages. So it's flexible. The grammar is also flexible. And for that reason, it has stayed. It has stayed afloat. And Sanskrit, unfortunately, came down due to its emphasis on perfection, on correctness, and so on. There's a very famous saying: the woodcutter and King Bose. King Bose was going around and he saw one woodcutter carrying a bundle of wood on his head, and he asked him, "Kim bhare vadati?" Then he said, "Not the Lord hurts me so much as your wrong use of vadati." See how even common people were so they were so particular about the correctness, about the chastity and purity of Sanskrit language. Even otherwise, Aryans had this instinct for purity of blood, purity of this, purity of that. So I think Sanskrit should open up. And how it can open up? It can open up by discovering its relationship with other languages, global as well as native Indian languages. Then it would get some buoyancy. It would stay afloat, and probably it would acquire its earlier status of the language of the devas, language of the scholars and saints, and language of common people in Varsha and so on. So this is another point. Now the translation part of it, most miserable part. I have read several scriptures in Sanskrit scriptures translated into English. Few of them are good. They have those translators have a good knowledge of English. But most of the translations, particularly by some of our saints and some of our sages in the later times, in the common era, they are not so good. Those translations are not good, and they are casual also. I think Sanskrit has taken a beating at the hands of poor translators. If the quality of translation is improved, I'm sure this language would be resuscitated sooner than later. So I once again congratulate the organizers for giving me this opportunity of being addressed to you today evening. I wish them all well. I wish them a great success for their program. And I hope they keep repeating such programs and keep inviting eminent people to spread out the intellectual and spiritual radiance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Now I would like to invite the chief guest of this ceremony, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana.
धन्यवाद। मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
हाँ सर, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। सर्वप्रथम मैं धन्यवाद करता हूँ महेंद्रगढ़ संस्कृति विभाग को, जिन्होंने ये कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया है, और हमारे साथ हमारे विश्वविद्यालय के लोग भी जुड़े हैं। डॉक्टर विपिन कुमार झा जी जो संयोजक है, और डॉक्टर प्रोफेसर रणवीर जी, उनका भी धन्यवाद करता हूँ। और हमारे जो इस कार्यक्रम में वक्ता रहे वो डॉक्टर परवीन कुमार जी यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली से, डॉक्टर ब्रजमोहन मिश्रा जी पिपलू से, और मैं अभी सुन रहा था प्रोफेसर सुखबीर सिंह जी को, और मैं इन सभी का धन्यवाद करता हूँ कि आज जो कार्यक्रम हो रहा है, एक संस्कृत वीक जो इसे हम मनाते हैं, उसका आज तीसरा दिन है। उसमें ये कार्यक्रम आयोजित कर रहे हैं महेंद्रगढ़। हमारी जो संस्कृत की वो है, वो जानवी संस्कृत ई जर्नल है, और संस्कृत भारती जो महेंद्रगढ़ का यूनिट है उसमें आयोजित कर रहे हैं। तो आज बहुत अच्छा लगा सभी कुछ वक्तव्यों को सुनकर कि कैसे जो हमारे देश की जो संस्कृत की लैंग्वेज है, वो सभी लैंग्वेजेस में कहीं ना कहीं उनमें कुछ ना कुछ पाया जाता है। तो इससे तो यही लगता है कि सभी जो हमारे कई चीज़ें जो है, हमें बहुत बातें जो हमें बताई जाती थी, किताबों में भी लिखी जाती हैं, वो भी हमारे इस हिसाब से ठीक से नहीं लिखी जाती है। और हमें यदि संस्कृत ही हमारी सभी लैंग्वेजों की मैं कहूँ कि एक जननी है, तो दूसरी तरफ ये भी तो सही हो सकता है कि कैसे हमने भारत जो है एक विश्व गुरु रहा है, और उसको आज जो है हम उसमें ऐसी दिशा में बैठे हैं कि जहाँ पर हमें एक संस्कृत वीक जो है मनाना पड़ रहा है। और क्योंकि हम इस भाषा को धीरे धीरे जो है वो कम होती गई, उसमें अपना। और आज हम यदि मैं कहूँ कि भारत जो है 75वां अपना दिवस जो है मनाने जा रहा है। आज़ाद हुए 75 वर्ष हमें होने वाले हैं, कुछ ही दिनों की बात है। लेकिन ये बात भी सही है कि इन्हीं 75 सालों में भी हमने बहुत कुछ खोया है। इसीलिए मैं इसे कहता हूँ कि ये अमृत महोत्सव है, क्योंकि ये पूरा कोई एक दिन नहीं है जिसमें हमें कुछ से सेलिब्रेट करना है। हमें ये ज्ञान प्राप्त करना चाहिए कि क्या हमें इस 75 सालों में खोया है, और क्या हमें पाना चाहिए था, और क्या हमें पाया है। इस चीज़ के बारे में हमें पूरा अपना इसके ऊपर अध्ययन भी करना चाहिए और सोचना भी चाहिए। तो ये बहुत सारा जो मैं कहूँगा कि जो आपका जो कार्यक्रम है, इस बारे में भी विचार कर रहा है। वैसे जितने भी लोगों को सुना, उसमें यही बहुत बड़ी बात करके निकल के आती है कि हमारा जो संस्कृत है, वो एक पूरे एक साइंटिफिक इसकी जो लैंग्वेज है, जिसकी ग्रामर जो है पूरी तरह मैं कहूँगा विकसित है, जिसे कि चेंज करने की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है किसी भी। जैसे इंग्लिश में बता रहे थे कि चेंज करना पड़ता है, कुछ हर साल कुछ ना कुछ चेंजेस होते हैं, लेकिन जो हमारी मातृभाषा है तो साइंटिफिक है, और कंप्यूटर के लिए उपयोगी भी है। और ऐसी बहुत सारी बातें हैं जो है कि हम सभी लोग जानते हैं। आप सभी जो यहाँ बैठे हैं, आप तो विद्वान हैं, तो हमें इस बारे में जो आज आप लोगों ने ज्ञान दिया, मैं उसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूँ। आप सभी जो लोग इस कार्यक्रम से जुड़े हैं, और जो सभी जो लोग जो है इस कार्यक्रम को आयोजित कर रहे हैं, डॉक्टर विपिन कुमार झा जी और हमारे योगी, इन शब्दों के साथ मैं आपका फिर से एक बार धन्यवाद करते हुए और आपको प्रणाम करता हूँ। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Now I would like to thanking you all for joining with us for this for organizing this program. Thank you all.
यहाँ पर एक प्रश्न मध्य में उपस्थापित हुआ था, जो कि आज का सत्र अंग्रेजी भाषा में क्यों रखा गया है। तो उसके लिए हमने पहले भी स्पष्ट कर दिया था। उसका उद्देश्य यह है कि आज का और कल का केवल विदेशी भाषाओं के लिए ही सुरक्षित है, जिसमें कि आज भी अभी भी आप देखेंगे जो कि अलग अलग देशों से हमारे छात्र जुड़े हुए हैं, और इस कारण से इसका माध्यम आंग्ल रखा गया, लेकिन हार्ड एंड फास्ट इस तरह का कोई नहीं रखा गया था। तो इसको उस रूप में न देखा जाए, जो कि हम जो भी कार्य कर रहे हैं वह उसको ध्यान में रख करके ही कर रहे हैं। अस्तु, धन्यवादार्पण क्रमे अद्यतनीयाः औपचारिकदिशाः मुख्याभ्यागताः भवन्ति श्रीमन्तः टङ्केश्वर महोदयाः। इमे तु अस्मत् अभिभावकाः भवन्ति, अस्मत् प्रेरकाः भवन्ति। इमे विश्वविद्यालय संदर्भे संस्कृतस्य अपरिहार्यत्वं दर्शितवन्तः। संस्कृत भारती महेंद्रगढ़ पक्षतः, महर्षि पाणिनि वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय पक्षतः, जाह्नवी शोध पत्रिका पक्षतः, अस्मत् पक्षतश्च सादरं सश्रद्धं सभक्तिकं कार्तज्ञं बिभर्मि। एवमेव प्रोफेसर सुखवीर सिंह महाभागाः भवन्ति सारस्वतातिथयः। एते संस्कृत आंग्ल तथा संस्कृत भाषा इत्येताभ्यां भाषाभ्यां विवरणं सम्यक् रूपेण व्याकरण दृशा अपि च अनुवाद दृशा सम्यक् रूपेण उपस्थापितवन्तः। अतः एतेभ्यो महोदयेभ्यो संस्कृत भारती महेंद्रगढ़ पक्षतः, महर्षि पाणिनि वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय पक्षतः, जाह्नवी शोध पत्रिका पक्षतः, अस्मत् पक्षतश्च धन्यवादान् बिभर्मि। एवमेव प्रवीण महोदयाः भवन्ति। इमे सारस्वतातिथयः इमे आंग्ल संस्कृतयोः अंतर्संबंधं सोदाहरणं इमे प्रस्तुतवन्तः, अपि च आगामि शोधकार्यार्थं मार्गं च दर्शितवन्तः। अतः एतेभ्यो महोदयेभ्यो संस्कृत भारती महेंद्रगढ़ पक्षतः, महर्षि पाणिनि वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय पक्षतः, जाह्नवी शोध पत्रिका पक्षतः, अस्मत् पक्षतश्च धन्यवादान् वितनोमि। एवमेव अस्माकम् अतिथयः भवन्ति ब्रजमोहन महाभागाः। इमे विविध ग्रंथ भाषाम् अवलम्ब्य सुष्ठुतया संस्कृतस्य जीविकोपार्जनत्वं प्रतिपादितवन्तः। अतः एतेभ्यो महानुभावेभ्यो संस्कृत भारती महेंद्रगढ़ पक्षतः, महर्षि पाणिनि वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय पक्षतः, जाह्नवी शोध पत्रिका पक्षतः, अस्मत् पक्षतश्च कार्तज्ञं बिभर्मि। श्रोतारः प्राणभूताः भवन्ति। अतः एतेषां विशिष्य अत्र ये अग्रजा भवन्ति, अत्र ये गुरुजनाः भवन्ति, तेभ्यो महोदयेभ्यो संस्कृत भारती महेंद्रगढ़ पक्षतः, महर्षि पाणिनि वैदिक विश्वविद्यालय पक्षतः, जाह्नवी शोध पत्रिका पक्षतः, अस्मत् पक्षतश्च धन्यवादान् व्याहरामि। अस्मत् कार्यकर्तारः ये सन्ति, विशिष्य मदन मोहन महोदयः, रजनी निरन्तरं कार्यं कृतवती। एवमेव शिल्पी शीतल मनीष रामसेवक प्रभृतयः एते एव कार्यक्रमस्यास्य आधारभूताः सन्ति। अतः एतेभ्योऽपि शुभाशिषाः। एवमेव अस्माकं ये मार्गदर्शकाः भवन्ति, अपि च ये प्रत्यक्ष परोक्ष रूपे सहायकाः भवन्ति, तेभ्यो धन्यवादान् वितीर्य विरमामि विस्तरात्। धन्यवादाः। At the end of session, with due permission of the chair of the session, chief guest of the session, after Shanti Mantra, we will close the session. So all we gathered for Shanti Mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti सर्वेभ्यो धन्यवादाः। Now I close the session. Thank you, sir, for your presence.